In the previous slide, we understood the differences between DNA replication versus DNA transcription. While all the DNA of the cell is replicated, as I explained before cell division, only parts of the DNA are transcribed, and these are called genes. So by definition, a gene is a DNA sequence. Sometimes we'll call it a locus. So it's a piece of the DNA, a segment of the DNA, which is transcribed and which encodes for a final functional product, which means the gene in the nucleus will produce in the cell a functional product that is either a protein or an RNA. Let me explain this through two examples. We all have insulin gene, and insulin gene, I guess, is known by everyone. The insulin gene in the nucleus allows, through transcription, to make the insulin RNA. However, this RNA is only a messenger. That's why we call it insulin mRNA, because it only takes the gene information copied from the gene into the sequence of the mRNA, and then it goes to the cytoplasm where it's used to make the insulin protein, which then regulates the sugar levels in our blood. So the insulin protein is the final product of the insulin gene. The insulin gene is the genetic information, is the code in the cell, and it gets transcribed into an mRNA, and the end product made in the cell would be the insulin protein. So this is an example where the gene has a protein as a final product. There are other genes in the cell which only produce RNA, and the RNA is not used to make proteins. This is the case of ribosomal RNA genes, for example, and what they make through transcription is their ribosomal RNA, which is not a messenger RNA, because the ribosomal RNA is the end product and it's going to carry the function itself. And like here, the mRNA is just a copy, a messenger that is going to be used and then degraded to make insulin protein. Each of the genes we have in the cell have different variants, and these are called alleles. So I'm going to explain this through a well-known example where the blood type gene has 3 different flavors for it called alleles. So the blood type gene, it has a locus, which means it has a specific sequence in the chromatid, and when you inherit one chromatid from mom and one chromatid from dad, you can inherit 2 different copies of the blood type gene. One copy can encode for the blood type B, and the other copy could encode for a different variant of the gene, which could be O, for example, or A. And therefore, the genetic makeup in this case will be BO for this gene in this person. We also know that these alleles can have different relationships to each other. Some of them can be dominant over others, which means the B is dominant over O, meaning that in the cell, the allele B will be expressed to make the final product. O will remain silent. A, for example, is dominant over O, like B is dominant over O. Because there is dominance, the one that is being always suppressed and trumped is called the recessive allele. So A and B are dominant alleles, while O is called the recessive allele. You might ask the question, when does O get expressed then? Well, O will be only expressed when the person inherits OO from both parents. In that case, both O's will be expressed because no one is repressing the other. No one is being dominant over the other. There is also one other type of relationship between alleles, which is called codominance, when A is codominant with B, meaning that when a person inherits A and B, both A and B will be expressed at the same time, and the person will be an AB blood type. So, to summarize, genes are the molecular units of heredity of living organisms, which means we inherit genes from mom and dad, and these would allow us to have our unique genotypes and also, as a consequence, our unique phenotypes. Alleles define the genotype of an organism, which means it's a genetic makeup. I would like to finish here by mentioning that the two chromatids we inherit from parents, one, the red one coming from mom, the blue one coming from dad, we call these chromatids homologous chromosomes or homologous chromatids. Okay, so you might find chromosomes, sometimes chromatids. Homologs here is different from the homologous trait, and I hope this you will remember that. Homologous chromosomes means pair of chromosomes carrying the same genes in them, but one is coming from one parent, the other one is coming from a different parent. So homologous chromosomes have alleles for same genes at their specific loci, which is the plural of locus, and each one is coming from a different parent.